friends, Shay here. So today I am here to share my top 10 manga of all time as of right now. And I've been reading manga for 6 to 7 years now. So I feel like I've read quite a bit to really narrow down a top 10 of my favorites. This is something I might end up doing yearly, especially if you guys like it. So let's go ahead and dive in and start with number 10. Number 10 is going to be Wish by Clamp. This is one of my favorite titles. It features a non-binary, gender-fluid angel named Kohaku, and Kohaku is very innocent and sweet and pure. And one day they end up trapped in a tree in their tiny form by a cat. And this man named Shunichiro saves Kohaku. And so Kohaku wants to grant Shunichiro a wish to pay him back. But Shunichiro's like, no, I'm good. And so Kohaku feels stuck on Earth until they can grant Shunichiro a wish. This is a beautiful story. I really love it. I have the Dark Horse all-in-one omnibus situation, but I believe it's 4 standard volumes. It's been complete for years. One of my all-time favorites. It was written way ahead of its time, in my opinion, and I really think more people should be picking up this title. It is one of my all-time favorites for a reason. Number 9 on this list is going to be BL Metamorphosis. BL Metamorphosis is not something I would typically love as much as I do, I guess you could say. This is a story about a woman in her 70s falling in love with BL manga through trying it and her connection with a teenage bookseller at the bookstore. And they form a beautiful friendship where they both learn and grow and change. And it's absolutely stunning. It's 5 volumes long. And I just love seeing these two not traditional people becoming friends. You wouldn't expect a woman in her 70s to become friends with a random teenager that's not like living in their neighborhood or maybe related to them. And so this is just a really, really sweet story. And it's truly one of my all-time favorite slice of lives. I'm so glad we have this in English. It is seriously one of the best series I've ever read. The next one will probably surprise some people, and that's going to be Dengeki Daisy. Dengeki Daisy is a shoujo series that is an age gap romance in which there's a lot of suspense, where we have this girl whose brother passed away, I want to say 2 years before the beginning of the series. And she has been messaging through his phone. It's this person named Daisy. It was their code name for certain things. And she starts to befriend this janitor at her school, and things move and develop from there. Again, it is one of my all-time favorites. It's definitely going to fall more in a romantic suspense kind of realm. This is the same mangaka who does Queen's Quality, and it very much has a similar feel, but less surreal, I guess you could say. It's much more based in the real world, and there's the age gap element going. So not everybody's going to love the age gap, so this is not going to be a series for everybody. I do think the plot outside of the romance is absolutely stunning, and I think more people would love it if the age gap element weren't there. So if you're willing to give it a try, please do. And yes, it is seriously so good. The next one on this list is an Akiko Higashimura title, and that is Blank Canvas. My so-called artist's journey, I believe, is the full title. This is an autobiographical 5-volume series where Akiko Higashimura goes through her journey to becoming a mangaka, from the time she was in high school and thought she knew everything to kind of present life. She talks about one particular teacher that influenced her quite a bit, for the good and the bad, you could say. And it's an absolutely stunning autobiographical piece. Again, this one kind of flew under a lot of people's radar. I've been raving about it for a long time, but it also has been a minute since I've reminded you guys about it. So please check out the series. Akiko Higashimura is my queen, but this one is my favorite from her that we have in English. I really want her new fantasy, the Snow Tiger one, to come in English. Please, somebody publish it because I need it in my life. Number 6 is going to be Magic Knight Rayearth. I did a vlog when I first read Magic Knight Rayearth. I'll leave it linked in the corner. And this is my favorite magical girl manga. In this, we're following 3 teenage girls who are all at Tokyo Tower, and they end up transported into this other world to be the saviors of it. It's a very isekai style story, and this one really works for me. I don't feel like these women are there to just fall in love or anything like that. They truly care about the people, about what's going on, and they want to fix the problem. And this also deals with an element of them coming back to their real world in Tokyo, and it's absolutely amazing. I 10 out of 10 recommend this series. Again, if you want my very detailed thoughts from going through, it's in the corner. Number 5 is one that, again, it's been a while since I've talked about, but I absolutely love and adore, and that is Full Metal Alchemist. Full Metal Alchemist is one of my favorite shonens of all time, and it is honestly perfection. This series is all about 2 brothers who break a cardinal rule in alchemy, trying to bring back their mother from the dead. In doing so, they commit a huge taboo where one of them has completely lost their body and their soul is bound to a suit of armor, and the other has lost a leg and an arm. This series really delves into a lot of religious connotations, surprisingly, but it's also very political. It's very European feeling, almost World War II-ish, a little bit steampunk. And you're dealing with like the 7 deadly sins. Like, it's amazing. There's so much going on in the series. Again, it was at least a very popular series long ago, but I feel like not as many people are talking about it now. This is shonen gold to me. This is so, so good. Please read Full Metal Alchemist if you haven't. Brotherhood is definitely beat for beat what's going on in the manga, but there's something about Himuro Arakawa's writing and the way that they phrase things and the way they draw them that doesn't come across as well in the anime to me, so I do think it's worth reading. Number 4 on this list is actually my only queer one on the list, other than the relationships in BL Metamorphosis, and that's going to be Boys Run the Riot. Boys Run the Riot is an amazing story about a trans teen trying to express themselves in a way that is healthy for them since they are not publicly out. The way this approaches it is fantastic. They make a friend that seems very unconventional, but at the same time, it is a trans teen boy, and he doesn't feel like anybody understands him. And he hates going to school in his girl's uniform, and he just wants to be himself. So he and this friend who got held back a year, I think, so they're not even exactly the same age, but they start a fashion and clothing company to kind of stick it to the man and express themselves. And it's beautiful, it's stunning, it's 4 volumes. Of course, I wish it was longer just because the story is absolutely amazing, but seriously, this is by far and away one of the best series I've ever read. 10 out of 10 recommend. If you've not read Boys Run the Riot, please, please, please do. It is definitely the best trans manga I've ever read. The next one, the top 3, I'm pretty sure anybody who's watched my channel for any length of time really will get most of these. So number 3 is going to be Haikyuu. Haikyuu is the high school volleyball story of my dreams. I never thought I would care so much about a teenage boys volleyball team in my life, but they are all my precious children. I want nothing but their happiness. We are primarily following Shoyo Hinata. Shoyo Hinata is someone who was inspired by a high school volleyball player at a particular school named Karasuno and wanted to become just like him because he was a shorter guy playing volleyball, but he was soaring and flying, and that spoke to Hinata. And so through junior high, he kind of forms a mishmash team. No one's really that interested at his school, but he does his best. He ends up at a tournament where they end up in their first round, they end up against one of the best schools in the area, and he gets into it with a guy across the net known as the King of the Court. From there, they both end up at Karasuno High School, and things develop from there. You get to know all of the teammates. You get to know other teams. This cast of characters is something that is so unique to me in manga. The found familyness of it all is absolutely brilliant. Anyone that is mentioned for a significant amount of time, you get a follow-up on where they're at after the time skip towards the end of the series. It's brilliant. It's lovely. I love everything about this, and my anxious little bean, Asahi, makes me cry every time I watch. I think it's episodes like 7 and 8, I think, are where that's at. I just cry every time. Every time. But I've also read it at least twice, so it's good. I absolutely love it. The next one, again, won't surprise anybody here, and that is going to be Sweat and Soap. Sweat and Soap is a seinen manga, which is a romance-based manga. We have our female lead who has always been an excessive sweater, and so she's very self-conscious about her body odor because she was teased a lot as a kid for her excessive sweating. So as she's grown up, she ends up working at a Bath and Body Works style company called Lila Drop, and has used their products for years. They work very well for her. One day she's happily looking at a display, and someone from the scent department or the development department catches a whiff of her smell and actually likes it. So he then approaches her and says, "For the sake of the company, can I come and sniff you every day?" And so they start out very tenuously as colleagues into friends, and it develops into one of the healthiest relationships I have ever seen in manga. The romantic relationship that these two go through is fantastic. You see the ups and the downs. You see them work through things. You see them adjust to going from living separately to living together, and things that everyday couples go through. It's done in a brilliant way. Yes, they are intimate, and yes, it is explicit when they are intimate. But at the same time, their relationship is truly goals. Like, the way that they learn to work through things is brilliant and very organic. And I think it's very healthy to see that in manga. So by far and away, that one is one of my favorites. And the last one on this list surprises no one because I've done a dedicated video about it, and that is Sacrificial Princess and the King of Beasts. In Sacrificial Princess and the King of Beasts, we are following Seraphi. Seraphi is a 16-year-old girl who was raised her entire life to be sacrificed to the King of Beasts. At that point, Seraphi goes into the chamber for the ceremony to be sacrificed, and she discovers the secret about the King of Beasts and promises to keep his secret because he needs someone in his camp. And so instead of sacrificing her, he decides to make her his bride. And so this is all about the political ramifications of said decision. And this is very political. It's very heartfelt. This gives me everything. There's a great depiction of a female friendship here as well. And everything about it is brilliant. I absolutely love and adore it. Again, I have a whole dedicated video talking about why I love this, so I will leave that linked in the corner again, so you can go and check that out. But my friends, that is my current list of my favorites. Some of the criteria I used is that it has to be a completed series, so that's why things like Yona and Ladies on Top and things that I'm currently loving aren't necessarily on this list. And they have to also be in English, so that's why some of the ones that are still in Japanese that are like scans aren't going to be on this list, and I have to have read it to completion. So there are some that are completed, but I have not read them to completion yet. So that's why those aren't on this list as well. So with that said, those are the criteria I used to pick this list. Thank you so much for watching. If you're here just because you love me, leave me a roller coaster emoji, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.
It's been raining for days now, been running like a child. Can't feel the cold, well I'm lost here with you, lost in the woods. Lost as I should.